Welcome to my channel. This is the Diamond Chrysalis, aka Divested Diamonds. This is divestment with purpose, and you have arrived. Greetings and salutations, ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for being here today. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you kindly. In today's premiere, we shall be discussing Candice Dillard-Bassett from the Real Housewives of Potomac and those, questionable comments she made regarding her fear of having light-skinned kids. Let's take a listen.
And I'm like, your wife is.
Oh my God, no.
But that wasn't like a thing. That was just his thought.
Yeah.
And we moved past it. But
Right.
no, one thing I will say, I do have a fear of having light-skinned children.
Ooh.
I want my kids to be brown.
Yeah.
But they're probably not going to be brown.
Yeah.
And I'm like becoming okay
You
with
might
it.
have a demo.
I will be very happy. I will, but I want my kids to be brown.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not, it's fine.
So before I begin my commentary, I guess congratulations are in order to the happy couple. On April 15th, Candice and Chris revealed on Entertainment Tonight that she was 13 weeks pregnant with her first child. And of course, that'll be Candice's first child and Chris's fourth. Candice has also reportedly exited the Real Housewives of Potomac, so good luck to her and to both of them. Now, let's get into this. Look, she has the right to like what she likes. She is a brown-skinned woman after all, so why not? She wants a representation of herself. If she wants her kids to be brown-skinned, that's her prerogative. However, those comments came off as ignorant and less than smart, given who she's married to. Now, I do realize that being in an interracial relationship and later choosing to have children with a partner of a different race, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that your kids will be light-skinned, but the odds are very high. The question is, why does she have this fear? And where does it come from? Is it derived from her own experiences dealing with colorism? If so, let me just play devil's advocate for a moment here. The way that society is set up, doesn't she think that her kids being light-skinned would actually be less of a burden for her? Now look, I'm not saying that lighter-skinned people are better than darker-skinned people. I'm just trying to set this up in the form of reality, given some of the inherent privilege that they might receive for having a lighter complexion. And this is not a dig towards darker-skinned Black women. We all know how the world works. I know that a lot of darker-skinned Black women have different experiences depending on where they're from and the environment in which they grew up or currently living in. Matter of fact, I have people in my family who are of darker hues, and some have expressed to me how they've never experienced colorism. Racism, yes. Colorism, no. This could also be attributed to, like I said, where someone grows up. If you grow up in predominantly white areas, for instance, your issue wouldn't be colorism. For the most part, you'd experience racism. A lot of white people do not care about colorism. Most of them don't even know what it is. The few who do have learned about it from the conversations that Black and brown people constantly have on the internet. For some reason, people always seem to forget that in this country at least, we still live in segregated communities. People tend to gravitate towards those who look like them. You have white communities, black communities, Latino and Hispanic communities, Asian communities, indigenous communities, etc. It's only natural for people to gravitate towards those who look like them. A lot of this encompasses commonalities, be it race, culture, or certain traditions. And this is why, when it comes to colorism itself, it's more on an ethnic level than it is on a systemic level. The further back we go into history, however, colorism was a thing back then. Hence the brown paper bag test. And as far as the one-drop rule was concerned, that was more of a race preservation tactic than anything else. It was also racist because it didn't allow mixed race people to freely express or access their whiteness because of their mixed heritage. Majority didn't appear white, so they were designated or classified as black by default. This was also done in order to maintain race purity. The only time mixed race people got away with claiming the other side, and we're talking about black and white mixtures only here, okay? This is not to say that this doesn't happen in other mixed groups, but we're concentrating on black and white only here. So back to what I was saying. The only time that mixed race people got to claim their whiteness was when they were so ambiguous that they were white passing. Other than that, it didn't matter how mixed you were. If you had a drop of black blood in you, you were considered black or mulatto. But even that didn't matter. You were still black. Back to present day. When it comes to colorism, most black people need therapy to address some of these issues because not only did we take the colorism baton and run away with it, black people are the biggest perpetuators of it, especially within the so-called community. Because of the warped beauty standards that the dominant society has placed upon all of us, people keep resorting to the old, toxic standards of measuring beauty. The closer you are to whiteness, the more beautiful you are considered. And this has awakened a lot of insecurities in a lot of people. Personally, I don't agree with it because there's beauty in every race. There's beauty in every ethnicity. Beauty comes in many different forms, different shades, but society keeps telling us otherwise. Now, I do realize that this issue is not unique to the Black collective alone. Other races of people do partake in this colorism nonsense as well. The so-called community, however, has taken this problem to greater heights. Personally, I think that Candice needs to look within. She needs to look within herself and figure out why it is that she feels this way, whether she likes it or not. If she were to have children with Chris, the chances of those kids being light-skinned are very high. She may not like it, but that's the reality of things. And no, it's not guaranteed, but the chances are extremely high nonetheless. My opinion is that, secretly, Candice would prefer to be with a black man. It's either that, or she just hasn't found the footing in dealing with her other race husband. And I do believe that this is her first interracial relationship turned marriage, right? I also cannot help but notice just how pro-black she is. A while ago, I saw a video of hers where she was going off at the Kardashians for basically not protecting Kanye West when he was going off the rails at a presidential rally in 2020. Basically, it was reported by the Daily Mail and other news outlets that Kim Kardashian was furious that her then husband, Kanye, had revealed to the public that he and Kim came close to, check the screen, Northwest. During the rally, Kanye was acting really strange, very unhinged, crying about how he too was almost, check the screen. Let's take a listen.
My mom saved my life. My dad wanted to abort me. My mom saved my life. There would have been no Kanye West because my dad was too busy.
And then, out of nowhere, here comes Candice. And this is what she had to say.
The Kardashians don't give a about Kanye West. They could give zero about Kanye West, the man, the person, the black man. I've tried to never subscribe to the idea that this family is pimping and using black men for their advancement. If my husband, black, white, purple, Chinese, whatever, was out in the public eye having a manic episode, because that is what this is, having mental breakdowns, because that is what is happening, and making a complete mockery of our political system, I would be gearing up to enroll him in a conservatorship. His family, the people that he counts on and depends on to take care of him, are allowing him to be out in the world making a complete of himself. How angry it makes me to see these white women allow this sick black man to be out here looking crazy. This man is crying out and you are not here for him. And it's disgusting to me. You're sending him out into the world to shuck and jive so that you can get ratings for your TV show. Done with you. Done with you. If by some stroke of miracle, it turns out that while we're all bearing and enduring this circus from Kanye and his campaign, his family is in the trenches or in the wings working to get him the help that he needs, and we just don't know it because that's possible, then I will sincerely apologize for this rant.
Why do you care? I'll bet she'd never cape this hard for a black woman. Some of these swirlers need to learn to put down the cape and live their lives. She's caping for a grown-ass man who made the decision to marry a Kardashian. Kanye knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly who Kimberly was when he decided to get married. Why is that a problem? I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous mammy behavior. Why does she care so much? This is embarrassing. These BMWs, these black male worshipers, never stay hidden for too long. They will always show you who they really are. They will always display who they truly cape for. Because at the end of the day, black males are their default. And in all honesty, what is really going on with her? Why does everything always come down to race? And how about the post she made in January of last year, 2023, when she said the following: I'm extending my love to every black man and every person who loves a black man. Black men deserve to walk this earth without this kind of trauma on their backs. Black men deserve better. It's evident that black men have a strong hold on her, and she will do anything to cape for them. Question: Where's her love for Black women? I scoured her Instagram page and didn't see this level of support or compassion for those who've lost their lives due to Black femicide. And this is why she kept harping on about wanting brown-skinned children, even though she's married to a white man. Did she have a momentary glitch or delusion? Or was it simply her subconscious mind thinking out loud? Watch some of these women and how they move. Watch them when they slip, because they always end up telling on themselves. Their undying love for Glocktavius knows no bounds. The same men that she's so passionate about are the same ones deleting Black women and girls at an alarming rate. Where's her post for that? See, when you are Black male identified, a mammy, the only thing you see is the Black male's plight. What about the plight of all the girls and women losing their lives at the hands of these gangs? Do they get any love at all? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Default. Anyway, Candice is and has always been problematic. She overshares and then has an issue when people have opinions. Make that make sense. Do any of you remember what she said about Chris when she first arrived on the show? She didn't hesitate to share very private, very intimate information about her then fiance's penis. She was having a conversation with Ashley and Giselle about her new engagement, right? She flashed her ring and, yay! Ashley turns to Giselle and says, and he's a bald-headed white man just like Michael. And Michael, of course, being Ashley's estranged husband. Candice then goes on to say, he's my vanilla chocolate. She continues, Chris turns into a brown man when he's drinking too much. To which Giselle responds, isn't that offensive to him? And she says, no, not to him. Giselle responds, what about to Black people? Candice says, oh no. Ashley then chimes into the conversation and says, he's like a brother. He's cool. Candice interjects and says, his soul is brown a little bit. It's a little brown on the inside. Ashley then chimes in and says, that's not the only brown thing though, girl. Candice and Ashley then start laughing, while Giselle stands there with a confused look on her face. And moments later, it dawns on her once she realizes why they're laughing. And then Candice goes on to explain how her white fiance's peen tip is a little pink, but the shaft is brown. Giselle's like, no. And Candice says, I wish I could show you. To which Giselle responds, actually, I don't want to meet him because I'll be looking down there. As the women are cackling, Candice then decides to tell the women a little bit extra and says that she and Chris are part of the Magnum Club. Now, we all know what that means, right? Ladies, we need to talk. What Candice did was absolutely appalling and inappropriate. While she may have felt that disclosing this kind of information to her fellow cast members was somewhat funny or a way to break the ice, it showed her lack of respect for Chris and highlighted her immaturity. Let's try something here. I would like for you to turn the tables around and tell me how the so-called community and Black women in general would have reacted had he been the one recorded talking to the male cast members about Candice's nether regions. Imagine that. It would have been a tsunami of insults. I can see Black men laughing and saying, well, that's what you get for dating white zaddy. You're nothing more than a fetish to them. This guy would have been labeled a racist or a WS. The internet, oh, the lovely internet, would have roasted the heck out of this man. Not only did Candice disrespect him by revealing that information to the other cast members, it led to Chris being the butt of almost every joke. And this was evident at a gathering they'd had when the cast members came together at a park where they did some physical activities and later sat down to eat some food prepared by Chris himself, seeing as he's a quote-unquote chef. Anyway, once again, Candice brought up the wedding preparations, which led to a lot of curiosity from the other women. During the conversation, it was revealed that Candice's mother was paying for the wedding. So Charisse's curiosity led her to ask what else Candice's mother was paying for, to which Candice responds, a lot of things. And then, of course, Charisse wanted to know what Chris with the brown penis was paying for. And you could clearly see Candice's smile fade instantly from her face. This is what I'm talking about. The world doesn't need to know everything about your private affairs, especially when the individual being talked about hasn't consented to that kind of information being put out there. And it's not just that. What happened to common decency? This level of immaturity and lack of discretion and respect for your significant other is very unattractive. Unfortunately, there are women out there who just talk for the sake of talking. They just have to open their mouth, yakety yak, yap yap, all the time. And what for? All they do is talk. What was the point of all of that? You can't blame other people for that kind of ridicule when really you are responsible for giving them the ammunition to do that to you. Look, I do understand that for first-time interracial daters, there are certain curiosities about a lot of things, especially when it comes to sex, right? And sometimes body parts. There are curiosities about a lot of things, especially when you've had no romantic exposure to people of other races. But can we agree that disrespect under any circumstance, right, is unacceptable? Can we at least agree on that? Because sometimes it gets ridiculous. Let me tell you a little story. But before I do, let me just say this. Nothing makes you feel more unclean than when someone fetishizes you. There's something icky about that. But anyway, I once dated this guy, right? He was a newbie to interracial dating. White guy. He calls me up one day and asks me this. And I kid you not, he was being serious about this. And he says to me, "Is it true that a black woman's cooch is pink?" I was flabbergasted. I'm like, where's all this coming from? And he said to me that he overheard a conversation where a group of black men were talking, right? And during the conversation, they just happened to mention that. And so he was curious, right? And of course, he came to me and asked me that. After I told him what he needed to know, that conversation opened the floodgates to more questions. And while I didn't mind answering those questions, I felt like a piece of meat. Cheap almost, right? Look, I do understand that at some point, someone would have to be another person's first. And while I've always made the personal decision to not date men who've never dated out, I made an exception for that one man, knowing that I was there first. However, the way they carried themselves made me realize that I had made a mistake. And it wasn't because of the question. Personally, I don't mind filling in the blanks where necessary. You see, there were other factors involved that made me realize just how inexperienced they were at interracial dating and how incompatible we were. Here's the thing. I wasn't willing to constantly teach or educate this individual on what was or wasn't appropriate to do or say within the confines of that potential relationship. It was exhausting. And ever since that experience, I told myself that I would never, ever in my entire existence date a first-timer for obvious reasons. Because honestly, I would never want to be someone's experiment. Luckily, I was never in a physical relationship with that individual, so there was no skin off my nose. Because girl, the cringe level was overwhelming. But I digress. Back to Candice. Look, as far as Candice being judged by the other ladies, I mean, sure, they could have judged her for getting married to an unsuccessful, aspiring chef who allegedly had a failed business. Or the fact that he is a 3-time baby daddy from previous relationships with 2 women. Or that he'd moved into a home where Candice's mother was footing the bills. Or that Candice's mother was paying for their wedding. My thing is this. Candice was to blame for Chris's ridicule regarding his private parts because she's the one who put that out there in the first place. Was it then surprising that recently, when Chris was accused of cheating, his prized possession was then the star of the show? Oh yes, the same brown peen that Candice had told the world about. During part 1 of the recent reunion, the cheating allegations came up. Candice denied them because you know how it is. That's her husband, and she has to defend him, right? She also has to save face. Candice accused Giselle because the 2 of them have beef, and honestly, they really don't like each other. They don't mesh well together. But anyway, Candice accused Giselle of laughing and joking and adding sauce to what she considered to be a lie, right? To a rumor on her podcast with Robin. So Robin was a little curious, right? She then asks, so the screenshots are photoshopped? To which Candice responds, I don't know what screenshots you're talking about. Then Robin says, the screenshots of your husband's limp penis and the multiple voice memos they exchanged back and forth? So what they're talking about here are cheating allegations, right? Cheating rumors about Chris and some other woman. So this woman claimed that penis photos were sent to her. And basically, Chris was cheating on his wife. The woman also claimed to have evacuated a growing bambino from her body. Get my drift? Right. It was also stated during the same reunion that this woman had retracted those claims and said that she had made it all up. But somehow, she seems to have come back with the same claims, insinuating that something really did happen. Listen, at this point, who knows what really happened? All I know is there is no smoke without fire. Now, let's talk about the reason that Giselle and Candice have had issues. Chris is allegedly, once again, at the center of it all. So he came under fire when Giselle Bryant claimed that he, Chris, had made her feel uncomfortable by speaking to her alone in her hotel room during a break from filming season 7 reunion. A move that she thought was his attempt at, quote-unquote, trying to see if she was with it. Ashley also alleged that she felt a certain way about Chris, DMing her late at night to invite her to a hotel restaurant that he manages, right? And later said he was getting flirty with a female friend of theirs at a party. Although these accusations have been denied by Chris and Candice, there was some footage shown at the reunion which appeared to indicate that Chris may have been telling the truth. They looked at the footage and basically they all came to the conclusion that Chris was not flirting with the other woman. So I guess that's that. With that said, it still doesn't negate the fact that Chris does seem to have some ways about him that do come across as inappropriate. Here's the thing. If you are a group of people who hang around each other as couples, there is no reason for your friend or acquaintance's husband to be talking to you privately away from their significant other unless they're planning some kind of surprise party. Other than that, there's no reason for that. I think that a lot of people have lost their marbles in understanding what is or isn't appropriate when it comes to marriage and relationships. But anyway, the mudslinging between Candice and Giselle continues to the point where Candice has been online liking and thumbs-upping negative comments about Giselle. Giselle has been accused of being a colorist, and people have attacked her online, even sending death threats towards her and her children.
Giselle, you blamed Candice for death threats that you received. Why did you choose not to confront her about it during the season? Did you ever consider, texting her and being like, this isn't even play anymore?
I was told that she would be talked to.
I want to know how it is my fault that people are crazy enough to threaten her life.
The color of my skin caused many people to directly say, oh, you are a colorist and I'm coming to kill you. Oh, you are a colorist, I'm coming to your house to kill your children. So it's a direct connect. As I have watched the show, it's fuck Giselle, fuck Giselle, fuck Giselle. Giselle's an imp. Giselle's the devil. Giselle is evil. Giselle is raggedy ass, nasty ass Giselle. Giselle should be fired.
All true.
So it's kind of like, I've answered your question about the death threats, but since we're here.
Everyone up here, I believe, has received some form of a death threat. I think it is dangerous and extremely unfair to conflate me having an issue with her then receiving death threats.
Just want to say that.
No.
But let me ask you this. The people who are tweeting this stuff to her, are you liking the tweets and thumbs upping the tweets?
I have liked some tweets.
Okay, well then that does involve you then.
Week after week.
It is no different.
Candice is a very smart woman. She knows exactly what's going on here. She's also being very disingenuous when she says that she's not to blame for what these people are doing to Giselle. Liking negative comments about someone you're in a feud with and adding extra fuel to that fire in support of those comments makes you an enabler. You are further perpetuating the idea that it's okay for these people to talk shit about Giselle. You are literally co-signing this negativity. You cannot then turn around and play the victim card once you've been called out. You may not be the one threatening Giselle and the kids, but you're doing so through these people. You're doing so by liking these comments, and that, to me, is a dog whistle. You're basically giving these people further permission to keep on doing what they're doing. There are so many crazy people on the internet who will go to any lengths to enact their delusions. What is dangerous and isn't fair, Candice, is you encouraging this type of behavior. My thing is this. Could this have been resolved privately, away from prying eyes? Absolutely. That's a possibility. Both women are at fault when it comes to this issue. The problem is, because your relevance on these shows is hinged upon the amount of drama that you can bring, people are willing to do way too much for that check. So, did the situation between Chris and Giselle actually happen? Yeah, that was confirmed. The moment really did happen. Chris, however, did deny that there was more to it other than him just trying to have a conversation with Giselle. Now, The question is, did Giselle have the right to feel uncomfortable? Absolutely. What are we talking about? Now, Candice may not like it, but it's not up to her. I can understand her irritation and the fact that Giselle mentioned it a few times, but if you truly felt offended by the fact that Giselle was talking about it to other people, why not have a civil conversation with her about the whole issue? Get to hear her side of the story rather than push her aside to try and paint her as this annoying woman who was just going out of her way to cause issues between you and Chris. If anything, you should have spoken to your husband about why he would feel so comfortable to want to have a private conversation with a single woman in your absence. Like I said, inappropriate. The only reason that Giselle agreed to this quote-unquote private conversation was because she thought her people would be there as well. But once she arrived, there was nobody there. So would you blame her for feeling uncomfortable? I mean, Chris is not exactly a saint, is he? He didn't become a 3-time baby daddy by 2 women for no reason. Oops, I'm just saying. But unfortunately, Candice turned this into a dark-skinned versus light-skinned situation. The following clip shows just how much Candice disrespects and dislikes Giselle. And what she had to say was not cool at all. Let's take a listen.
And he was wrong are two different things.
I'm entitled to my feelings.
You are. No one is saying that you're not, but you're mixing your words to try and make a point, and it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. You are a garbage individual. You have no soul.
Thanks, Candice.
The fact that you will sit up here and act as if you are the victim, you are the reason that women cannot come forward with sexual assault and sexual misconduct allegations. Because you sit up here with your privileged, white-looking ass, and you think you can say whatever the you want to say, and no one is going to bat an eyelash.
Wait. Okay, great. That's a little far.
No, it's not.
No,
it isn't.
It is.
No, it isn't.
Way too far.
No, it isn't. Your proximity to whiteness helps you to be able to sit up here and tell these lies.
You cannot sit here and call her white privilege when she's a black female. What is wrong with y'all?
It's the colorism issue that we just talked about, and you're still reintroducing into this group.
Let's call Wikipedia. Andy, can I say something?
Yeah.
So, I know we just had the colorism conversation, and one of the takeaways was for us to be mindful of like the words we choose. Candice, I love you. You're my girl. I got your back forever. You had stated something about her white skin. I know you're angry, but I just want you to consider on the heels of that conversation, just what that may imply.
I understand what it implied, and I understand what I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
This conversation happened at the reunion in season 7. Shortly before that, Andy Cohen had given the ladies a chance to talk about colorism because there seemed to be some sort of tension, some sort of underlying issues amongst the ladies. And so he gave them a chance to open up the conversation and discuss certain issues in reference to colorism. Candice, as always, led the charge. She looked up the definition of colorism to which all the ladies were in agreement of. Anyway, once Chris arrived on the scene and decided to confront Giselle on trying to make him look like he was up to something when all he tried to do was converse with her privately, things took an ugly turn, and the results of it are exactly what you just heard. Was Candice remorseful or apologetic for her words? No, she said so herself. My issue with Candice is that she behaved in exactly the same way that she was accusing Giselle of having behaved. This tells me that Candice has some internalized issues with regard to colorism. I mean, wow, she had a lot to say. And while she may have interpreted some of Giselle's microaggressions as colorism, there is no proof that it was. And here's the thing. I've never heard Giselle mention anything in reference to Candice's skin tone or anything else that might be deemed colorist. She, on the other hand, was very comfortable calling out Giselle's light skin and her proximity to whiteness as if that's her fault, and all the while being nasty about it. I'm going to say something that might be deemed offensive to some of you, but please understand that this is coming from a place of love. Here's what I have to say about this. Candice doesn't get a pass for being nasty just because she's a darker-skinned woman. If Giselle had behaved similarly, I'd be calling her out too. This is not about taking sides. This is about right and wrong. Candice crossed the line that she knew she shouldn't have and took it too far. Even Wendy had something to say about it. She called her out on it. But because she was operating in her own toxicity, her own ego and stubbornness, she didn't want to hear it. What I have observed when it comes to the colorism topic is that there's this unspoken expectation where certain groups of darker-skinned Black women feel entitled to dish out toxicity and expect no pushback at all from lighter-skinned women, Black or otherwise. Part of the reason for this behavior is because some of these women feel that if they can tolerate negative stereotypes for simply existing, why can't you? If they can take the prejudice that the world is constantly dishing out to them for simply existing as darker-skinned Black women, you should be able to take their abuse because it's nothing in comparison to what they have to experience on a regular basis. Candice, unfortunately, strikes me as one of those people. So in season 8 reunion, which is the current season, Candice offered Giselle what I would call an apology, non-apology, right? Regarding her kids getting delete threats. Now, she wasn't sorry that Giselle was getting delete threats, but was sorry that her kids were. And of course, she still stands by her notion that this wasn't her fault in the first place, and that she can't be held responsible for what others do on the internet. And look, that's fine, but she was still glossing over her contributions to this issue and the fact that she did, in fact, encourage these people to keep saying all these nasty things to Giselle. How, you ask? By giving them likes and by commenting. She gave them a cosign. Giselle also apologized to Candice for having said that Chris made her go to the hotel room to have the quote-unquote private conversation. She corrected herself and said he'd asked her to go and didn't make her go. Basically, it was a request and not a demand.
I can hold myself accountable for the response.
Accountability inspires.
It does.
Accountability.
It does.
So if I said I didn't know what was happening or made, no. He asked me. He didn't make me, he asked me.
Can you accept that, Candice?
Yeah, sure.
It always takes somebody. Someone always has to make a move.
It's not a victory. It's not a victory. I understand that you were upset by my choice of words in referring to you.
Sit up here with your privileged, white-looking ass, and you think you can say whatever the fuck you want to say, and no one is going to bat an eyelash.
Wait. I should not have used those words to describe you. I'm sorry that your children have dealt with death threats.
Not randomly.
I don't take responsibility.
Now, let's talk about the obvious. Does Giselle benefit in this society, navigating her life as a multi-generationally mixed Black woman? Yes, I don't doubt that she does. The question is, must she take Candice's vitriol and disrespect for simply existing as a lighter-skinned woman? Absolutely not. In order to receive respect, Candice, we must be able to give it. Respect is a mutual exchange between parties involved. Now, Candice has every right to dislike Giselle for any reason, but especially what transpired between her and Chris. She has the right to defend her husband, her marriage, for whatever reason. What she doesn't have the right to do is disrespect Giselle for how she shows up in this world. Her behavior was not only disgusting, it was intolerable. I can totally understand if her vitriolic rhetoric was coming from a place of self-defense based on what Giselle may have said in relation to colorism. That doesn't seem to have happened. So this misplaced anger is something that she needs to work on. She needs to get to the root of her issues. She isn't owed an apology or any level of coddling from anyone deemed quote-unquote privileged. You can't be here complaining about colorism when you are responsible for instigating a negative environment that further perpetuates the very thing that you claim to be against. Make it make sense, because I can assure you that if Giselle had said something derogatory about Candice's skin tone, they would be trying to cancel her for being colorist. She'd be all kinds of bees and hoes and would most likely be labeled AWS. She'd be called racist, and I don't doubt for a second that they would be petitioning for her to be fired from the show. Ironically, Candice already did that anyway. Here's my position on this. Regardless of which side of the color spectrum you're on, right is right and wrong is wrong. And in this case, Candice was very wrong. I don't care if you're light bright, damn near white, light-skinned, medium brown, dark-skinned, black, or anything else in between, or whatever subcategories people got going on. Respect is paramount for all parties involved, whether you're light-skinned or dark-skinned. We've all had experiences with colorism one way or another. So let's not perpetuate situations that we ourselves wouldn't want done unto us. Candice needs to check her prejudice at the door and deal with her own issues. You see, the problem with Candice isn't the color of her skin. She's beautiful. The problem with Candice is her personality, her big mouth, and forever flapping gums. We need to stop doing this to each other. The decisions made in order for us to exist rests upon those who brought us here. No one should ever be made to feel bad for looking a certain way. Being perceived as quote-unquote privileged due to the color of one's skin is something society created. Therefore, the blame must never be placed upon the recipient of that privilege. We all have the right to love and celebrate the skin we're in, and be able to do so unapologetically. Look, we're all just trying to exist in a system that's always setting traps in order to maintain some kind of chaos by manipulating and attempting to right our minds. Now, I do understand that this is a very sensitive topic, and some of you will very well be mad at me. But here's the thing. This is a very nuanced conversation, and there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. This is a much-needed conversation. We can agree to disagree, but let's do so respectfully. On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, you shouldn't have to shoulder other people's trauma under any circumstance. We can agree to disagree on any topic, but don't let it be something about you that you cannot change. Personal attacks based on how you look are inappropriate. Whether you're light-skinned or dark-skinned, disagree on whatever you want, but just bear in mind that we all have the right to exist as we are, with all our flaws. And we're all privileged to be having this human experience. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Diamond Chrysalis. You've been watching Divestment with Purpose. Divest like a butterfly, and I'll see you next time. Bye, diamonds.